Welcome everyone, it's Sherry Carroll for Simon Says Stamp, and today I'm going to show you a project I've created using the brand new Tim Holtz STAMPtember 2024 stamp set. So here it is a cutie. It features a lot of these cartoon characters that are those classic Christmas icons. We have an ice skate, a lantern, a mitten, a snowman, a stocking, a coffee cup, and then a gingerbread man, a caroler, an ornament, an elf, and a snowflake, a cute reindeer, a star. I already got the caroler, a snow globe. Then we have a present, a candy cane, a tree, a letter to Santa, a jolly Santa, and a nice postage cancellation stamp. There are several greetings on here. We have special delivery, magical Christmas, 'tis the season, be of good cheer, naughty or nice, believe in the magic, merry and bright, winter wonderland, Merry Christmas, holly and jolly, jingle all the way, joy to the world, peace on earth, holiday wishes, let it snow, let it snow. These are made in the USA by Stampers Anonymous with that beautiful red rubber, and they're also cut in nice and close so that you can peel away your stamps, use them in your MISTI or on your stamping block, and you can weed out the background. I like to just peel my stamps off, use them as is, and once I've stamped and cleaned them, I can push them right back in and let that cling stick to that front plastic. To go with the stamp, Simon Says Stamp has also created a set of matching dies, and this has all of the iconic images and it excludes all the messages, so you won't get those in this die set. There's also a circle die up at the top, and this will cut around all of your little images so that you can create some fun projects like the one I've created. We've also designed a stamp die, so this is 2 sizes. You can use the smaller one to go around some of your images and snip them apart so that you have the 2 different pieces. And the large one, you can create small collages. They also fit some of these larger messages along with an image. We love having the options of having 2 sizes. So to get started on my project, I'm using the larger vignette box from Tim Holtz, and I'm also going to use some white gesso. I'm not going to cover it solidly. I'm going to do some whitewashing. I just want to tone down the color of the brown box, so I'm going to get out some of the Dina Wakley white gesso, and I'm spreading this onto my studio mat, and then I can dip my brush into some water and thin this out. So a wash is always something that is used with water, and now I can just add this to the sides and inside of my box. This will soak into the wood, and you may need to do a couple coats until you're happy with how it looks when it's dried. And as a little tip, your brush marks will show up, so you'll want to go with the grain and just check your brush marks before you allow it to dry. If you feel like you've gotten a little bit too much gesso, just add a little bit of water and spread it out. While my vignette box is drying, I've cut a piece of chipboard 4 inches by 4 inches, and I'm going to cover this with some gesso, and I'm going to use this straight on. I'll be covering this with some collage paper later, and I do want that background to be white. So I'm using a nice wide brush, and I'm just spreading the gesso just on the front side. I'm going to do some stamping while my other pieces are drying. So I have my Santa, the stocking, the reindeer, and the coffee cup in my MISTI, and I'm using some white Hammermill cardstock and Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink since I'm going to be doing some Copic marker coloring. So I'm going to ink this up really well. And then I'll press down on the door of the MISTI, and once I open it, I like to check my images to make sure they're nice and black and crisp, and then I can remove them from my MISTI. If I need to re-ink, I can do it at this time before I remove my stamps and paper. Then I can wipe it down with the Simon Says Stamp black microfiber cloth just to get that ink residue off and return those to the stamp set. And next, I have separated all of my dies for my images, and I'm going to use some of the Simon Says Stamp Low Tack tape, and I'll tape down the dies over the images, and then I can run these through my die cut machine. I'm returning back to my chipboard piece now that the gesso is good and dry, and I'm going to choose one of the Christmas collage papers from Tim Holtz to apply to this chipboard. I'll be using collage medium for my glue, and I have a nice wide brush, and I'm just going to brush this over the entire surface, and I'm going to make sure I get those edges really well covered. Now I'm going to make sure that I have this lined up nice and straight before I go and press it down. I'm just going to pat this down, and if there's any little wrinkles, I'll just smooth them out gently with my fingers. This paper is really delicate, so you want to make sure that you don't get any rips by being too rough with it. So next I'm adding some of the collage medium to the back side, and I'll be folding this paper over. And before I do that, I'm going to trim off this excess that's at the bottom. And now I can just start folding over one side at a time by laying that down and just rubbing my fingers over the top. When I turn it and I go to do the corners, just make sure that you have those corners nice and flat. If you need any more collage medium, just use it at this time, just to make sure that we have a nice clean edge around the outside and also at those corners. I'm just doing some basic coloring for my images, especially for the reindeer. I want to make sure that I have some darker brown around the outside and a little bit lighter towards his nose. And you can't have a reindeer without a red nose, so I'm using 3 shades of pink and red, and I'm leaving a little bit of white in the center of his nose. I've trimmed down some Schoolhouse red cardstock to 3.5 by 3.5, and I'm going to be using the Sizzix domes, and these are little shaker domes. And what I'm going to be doing is tracing them around with a pencil into my configuration that I want. And with that traced outline that I have going around, I've used my circle die that is in the coordinating die set, and I've set that die in the center of each of those pencil lines and then ran it through my die cut machine to get my 4 circles on my panel. And next I just have to erase my circle lines around each of those die cut circles. This chipboard is going to be the base of all the designs, and so what I want to do next is use my pencil. I've centered my red cardstock on top of the chipboard, and I'm going to pencil line into each of these circles, and this will tell me where I need to place my stamped images. And once I have traced my lines that I need, I can go around each of those circles with some Simon's Stamp Craft Tacky Glue. This is on the back side, and I'm just adding a fine line around each of those. And then I can place all 4 domes into this piece, and then I can flip it over gently and set it on my workstation to allow these to dry. And with that wet glue, you have a little bit of time to make sure that all those domes are sitting center, and go ahead and use your fingers to press around to make sure you get a good seal. I'm using that circle die cut once again. I want to make sure that all of my images will fit inside the dome and that I get a good seal, since I'm going to be adding some mica flakes to make all of these images have a shaker element to them. To stick these down in the circle, I'm using the Simon's Stamp thin black foam squares. So these will fit right inside that circle, and it'll be lifted up just a little bit. I'm going to make sure that everything fits as I move along and adhere them in place. I'm going to erase those pencil lines really gently to make sure that they don't show through that plastic dome. And now I can grab a pinch of the mica flakes, and I'm going to set this right on top of each of those images. I want to make sure that it's all clean around, so when I go to seal this, it will be a nice clean seal with the adhesive on the backs of those domes. With all my mica flakes in place and it's all cleaned up around each of those images, I'm just peeling away this adhesive. And then I can turn this over and set it down with my big head and hair in the way and make sure that I have that aligned before I press it down in place. And just to make sure that I have a really good seal, I'm just going to rub my finger around the outside of those domes to make sure that adhesive is really stuck to the background. And now I have a cute little shaker element to all 4 of my images, and I'll be giving this some dimension by gluing this to a 1/2-inch piece of styrofoam so it sits up from the back of the box. But first I want to add a sentiment strip. This is Love, Peace, and Joy. This is from Simon Says Stamp, and it's the black with the white writing. I like to get these started by coloring the edges with a black marker, and this will give it a really nice finished look. I've added some of the black foam squares to the back of this, and now I can just set it in place and make sure it's straight. I think this turned out adorable, and it was really fun to use some smaller images in a mixed media project. I think the bold colors and the whitewash frame go really well together. I have all my supplies listed in the description box below, and also a link to our blog post with additional inspiration from using this special stamp set from Tim Holtz for STAMPtember 2024. And as always, thanks so much for watching.
Hi there, I'm Heidi, Simon's mama and founder at simonsaysstamp.com. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe to see more great content.